Now, while sharks evoke the most fear when it comes to surfing and wildlife, there's another creature that poses an even deeper threat. Now, crocodiles have been around for millions of years, 320 million to be exact. And like sharks, they're a species that survived the extinction event that wiped out the dinosaurs. A highly evolved species that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So in this video, we explore surf destinations where crocodiles are most prominent. First up is Costa Rica. Now, Costa Rica is home to the American crocodile, which inhabits rivers, estuaries, and coastal areas. It also has the spectacled caiman, a smaller crocodilian species found in freshwater habitats. When it comes to crocs in surfing hotspots in Costa Rica, Playa Grande and Playa Hermosa are some of the most notorious areas. According to Bio1, between 1990 and 2017, Costa Rica reported 99 interactions between humans and crocodiles, including 35 non-fatal attacks, but 27 fatalities. There are many stories from Costa Rica of sightings in and around popular surf breaks. So most crocodile activity in Costa Rica happens inland, near rivers and estuaries. You know, you may have seen the famous Crocodile Bridge, which is just outside of Jaco. You drive over this bridge and there's just dozens and dozens of crocodiles all just sort of laying in the mud below. And it's not really that far away from Jaco and Playa Hermosa. It's kind of like you drive past it and then sort of 15-20 minutes later you're at the surf spots. I know I've heard plenty of stories from around Playa Hermosa where there's been crocs on the beach and occasionally in the lineup, but not very often. So obviously Indonesia is home to world-class waves, you know, it's the go-to surf destination, but it's also one of the most dangerous places in the world for crocodiles, most notably the saltwater crocodile. So crocodile attacks on locals and fishermen is very, very common throughout Indonesia, and that's just looking at the stats we can see. Imagine all of the tiny little remote villages in far-off islands where the stats don't get reported. Indonesia has actually had its fair share of crocodile incidents involving surfers. In 2016, an Australian surfer over in Roti Island was bitten on the leg while surfing and paddling out at a river mouth break. And more recently, in 2022, a huge crocodile was spotted in the lineup at G-Land, causing the whole lineup to just disperse and scatter back to the beach. Now, South Africa is renowned for its wildlife, and sharks are one of the first things you think of when it comes to surfing and South Africa. You know, the two are synonymous. It's one of the sharkiest surf destinations in the world, but what many people don't know is that the country is also a haven for crocodiles. Kosi Bay, St. Lucia, and the Isimangaliso Wetland Park in South Africa are known for the beautiful coastal landscapes, but these areas are also home to one of the most dangerous predators in Africa, the Nile crocodile. So these reptiles are responsible for hundreds of attacks across Africa each year, and as you'd expect, most of these have occurred near river mouths and estuaries. One particularly terrifying incident occurred in 2015 near St. Lucia when a Nile crocodile was seen stalking a swimmer in the water. Fortunately, the swimmer managed to escape unharmed, but locals often see the crocs in the area and say that they frequently move between the rivers and the ocean. This incident highlights the unpredictability of crocodiles. We kind of know their behavior, but we don't really know what they're going to do. You know, they're not confined just to freshwater environments. They can venture out into saltwater environments as well, which... Again, the American crocodile is the most prominent species in Nicaragua. And while there have been no confirmed attacks on surfers in Nicaragua, sightings near surf spots are pretty common. Regarding the stats in Nicaragua and any country on this list, you could also argue that many of these incidents and attacks could be left unreported. You're not hearing the exact truth all the time. But to be honest, crocodiles are everywhere in Nicaragua, found throughout the whole country. And in 2020, a group of surfers in Popoyo reportedly saw a large crocodile near the river mouth there. And locals confirmed that crocs from nearby freshwater lagoons sometimes enter the lineups after it rains. I've been to this region a handful of times and yeah, can testify that around many of the spots there's rivers that run out there, and inland there's plenty of crocodiles around. I've never actually seen one myself, but I've definitely thought about it whilst I've been crossing the rivers. Next up is Australia, and it might come as no surprise that Australia is a croc hotspot. After all, the country is famous for them. Now, Australia is home to an estimated 100,000 to 200,000 saltwater crocodiles, which is a crazy amount. Now, saltwater crocodiles are the largest and most aggressive species of crocodile in the world. Now, these apex predators can grow to over 6 meters or 20 feet long and weigh more than 1,000 kilograms. And perhaps most disturbingly, some river systems in parts of Australia contain more than 5 crocs per kilometer. Now, fatal attacks are pretty rare, but they do occur, with an average of 1 to 2 deadly encounters every year. Now, from a surfing perspective, the good news is that Australia's crocodile population is mostly focused in the northern half of Australia. You know, you're only going to find crocodiles in sort of the north of Western Australia, Northern Territory and North Queensland. So these parts of the coast aren't necessarily surf destinations as such. However, there have been some notable incidents involving surfers and crocodiles. According to ABC News, in 2015, a kite surfer, Chris Keeping, was attacked by a crocodile near Darwin. The reptile bit his board and attempted to drag him underwater, but Keeping managed to fight off the crocodile and survive the ordeal, later recounting the experience. In the same year, a surfer near Cairns spotted a 4-meter saltwater crocodile swimming close to the waves, and he just turned around and sprint paddled back to shore. Then the beach was closed for a few days. So this is pretty common in this part of Australia. However, it's also important to note that this area of Queensland isn't really a well-known or well-surfed stretch of coast, because the barrier reef basically blocks the swell from much of like the mainland coast, so it's not really a proper sort of surf destination. Otherwise, if you had surf spots all up there, I'm sure there'd be way more encounters. Guatemala is another crocodile-heavy surf destination. It might not share the same wave quality as some of its neighbours, but its main surf spots, Monterico, El Paredon, are all home to the American crocodile. Back in 2016, a local fisherman was actually killed by a crocodile in Monterico whilst working near some mangroves. He was pulled underwater by the croc and partially consumed, which is a terrifying sentence to read, let alone say out loud on video. In El Paredon, you know, the main town is basically built next to a huge river mouth, right where everyone surfs, so even though there haven't been attacks right there, nothing's impossible. If anything, it's quite likely that you're going to see crocodiles. So stay clear of river mouths, especially after storms. So while there are no documented cases of crocodile attacks on surfers in Guatemala, there have been several notable incidents. For instance, in 2009, Indiana native Chris Wagner was attacked by a crocodile while swimming in a Guatemalan lake. Now, this is a shocking story, so skip this bit if you're squeamish, but the crocodile bit him, clamped down on his head and pulled him underwater. Now, remarkably, Wagner managed to free himself from the jaws of the croc, went to hospital and received over 100 stitches. Now, Sri Lanka is a renowned surfing destination, known for its friendly locals, epic food and variety of easy to surf spots. But the presence of mugger crocodiles and saltwater crocodiles poses a bit of a lesser known threat in the country. One of the highest risk areas for crocodiles in Sri Lanka is the famous Aragon Bay. And it's in this area where these reptiles frequently move between freshwater lagoons and the ocean. The Aragon region has several freshwater estuaries, river mouths and mangrove swamps, which are prime habitats for crocs. So while Sri Lanka is a paradise for surfers, the risk of encountering a crocodile, especially in the Aragon Bay area, is very real. I've been to Aragon a couple of times and I've seen crocodiles in the area, not in the lineup or on the beach, although I did see a king cobra on the beach at Main Break in Aragon, which was basically just as scary. But out the back of Aragon, you've got basically all this national park and these huge wetlands where there's loads of crocodiles. You only have to drive 10-20 minutes inland and you can see crocodiles just in the rivers or in lakes, and there's loads of them. In 2017, Paul McLean, a British journalist and surfer, was killed by a mugger crocodile while washing his hands in a lagoon after a surf session at a point break to the south of Aragon. Then, in 2022, a 4-meter saltwater crocodile was spotted floating near the lineup of Aragon Bay, which obviously sent surfers scrambling to the shore. While areas like Weligama, Marissa and Hikkaduwa are considered moderate risk surf spots due to occasional crocodile sightings, they have not seen any confirmed attacks. So Panama's hotspots like Bocas del Toro, Playa Vanao and Santa Catalina are known for their really fun waves, but they also share waters with the American crocodile. And on rare occasions, even the saltwater crocodile is found in these places. One of the most shocking encounters occurred in Santa Catalina when a surfer paddling out spotted a saltwater crocodile in the lineup. The massive reptile swam calmly past the surfers before just disappearing underwater. Later, locals confirmed that crocodiles are occasionally seen in the area, particularly after heavy rains, when rising river levels push them towards the coast. Now, the islands of Bocas del Toro occasionally experience crocodile sightings, especially around the mangrove-lined edges of the islands. Mozambique's coastal regions, especially around the main surf zones, which I won't name here, have become high-risk surf destinations due to the presence of the Nile crocodile. Like South Africa to the south, the Nile crocodile is aggressive and it's actually known for hunting large prey, which includes humans. And crocodile activity in these areas is very high, primarily involving fishermen and villagers. But surfers are also at risk. In fact, in the main surf zones throughout Mozambique, there have been dozens of incidents involving surfers and crocodiles. In 2021, a 5-meter Nile crocodile was spotted swimming in the lineup at one of the main surf spots, causing surfers to suddenly burst their way to shore, and the beach was later closed. Locals believe that the croc had entered the ocean after heavy rain, a common occurrence after cyclones and storms. Then, in 2023, at another one of Mozambique's main surf spots, a group of surfers witnessed a large crocodile lying near the river mouth in front of a surf break before it slithered into the water and disappeared. Not seeing a crocodile is almost more terrifying than seeing one. So these incidents are very chilling reminders of the crocodile risk in the area. Oaxaca in Mexico's south is a world-renowned surf destination. You know, it's one of the best surf destinations in the world. It's famous for its flawless right-hand point breaks and thumping beaches. But the region is also home to the American crocodile, and these crocodiles are frequently spotted lurking in and around surf spots. So world-class waves like Barra de la Cruz, Puerto Escondido and the Salina Cruz area are prime croc hotspots. Being to Barra de la Cruz, you know that you've got the point break out there, and then depending on the rain and the flow of the river, you've got the river that bursts out anywhere from, it can be closer to the break or it can be further down the beach. In 2021, a shocking sighting occurred when surfers at Puerto Escondido's Playa Zicatela saw a large crocodile floating in the waves, forcing everyone out of the water. In 2023, a group of surfers in Salina Cruz also reported being stalked by a 3-meter croc that was swimming near them whilst they were surfing. And local fishermen often warn that crocs from the Rio Tehuantepec estuary frequently enter surfing zones in the area. So yeah, Oaxaca, southern Mexico, definitely a crocodile-infested surf destination. So El Salvador, like other countries in Central America, is another super famous surf destination that has crocodiles. You know, it's famous now for hosting the World Juniors, the Championship Tour every year. It's an increasingly popular and bustling surf destination. You know, it's marketed as Surf City, but what they don't market is that crocodiles are a very real threat in El Salvador. So while attacks on surfers in El Salvador is very, very rare, sightings are very common. And there have been multiple sightings of large crocodiles in or right next to surf breaks. The most dangerous areas for encounters have been El Tunco, and in 2018, a group of surfers at La Bocana had a close call with a 3-meter croc that surfaced right near them before disappearing back underwater. So yeah, terrifying situation. Now, if you've ever been to El Tunco, you probably feel like this is quite hard to believe because it's so built up around there, you know, it's Surf City. But yeah, it can happen and is fairly common. And especially because it's crowded, you'd think that would put crocodiles off, but it doesn't. So is there anything you can do to avoid crocs in the surf? But other than not surfing in places where crocodiles are present, you can avoid river mouths. You know, this is where crocodiles are most likely to enter or exit the water. Don't surf near estuaries or where fresh water mixes with salt water. Stay informed, you know, ask locals, and people are at the beach all the time for croc sightings. You know, how long ago was was it since a croc sighting. Surfing groups as well, you know, at more crowded places, although we don't want to surf where it's crowded generally, crocodiles are less likely to target bigger groups of people. And lastly, just stay aware of your surroundings, always be vigilant, alert of what's around you, and look out for crocs on the beach or near the water. Please note that even in these destinations, crocodile attacks are very rare, but not impossible. And please don't take any of the stats and figures in this video too literally. You know, lots of stats could go unreported, might not be accurate, but all of these destinations have the combination of like good waves and an environment where crocs are prominent. So attacks can and do happen. So let me know if you've got any terrifying stories of crocodiles in any of these places. I'd love to hear them. I've personally never seen crocs in the lineup or on the beach. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. For now, it's goodbye from me, and I'll see you in